Hi, everybody. We have Dr. Jenna Grindle here with us, a very close friend of mine. We've known each other for several years now. Um, I think we actually met through medical school, and it has been a wonderful journey since. And today, she's going to share with us her experience as it pertains to the cost of obtaining her medical degree and how she diligently worked at getting rid of that debt in such a short period of time. And a lot of our viewers can relate or may know somebody that has gone through this process. And I'm hoping that her story will bring some enlightenment and motivation to most of you. Dr. Grindle, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, yes. So, as Dr. Jima said, we've grown up together. Kind of been a cool experience to watch each of us find our different way in family medicine. But my name is Jenna Grindle. I am a board certified family practice physician and a certified breastfeeding consultant. And that really plays into my story because I am a full spectrum family medicine physician from baby mini all the way through to old. I deliver babies for a living, which is not as common through family medicine, but makes me a unique aspect of family medicine. My financial journey started actually as a high schooler. Um, I was very in tune with what things cost, not because I was worried about it, but because my parents were worried about it. My parents, one started college and graduated, and then one started college and did not graduate. And the feeling around college was, oh, you go there to meet the person that you're going to marry, and you're probably going to end up with some debt on the way. So you better figure out what you want to do before college, because that's not what college is for. And so with me saying I wanted to be a physician very young, my parents were just like, you don't want to do that. And so really it was my idea of, oh, okay, I need to figure out how to finance this because my parents are looking at me like, you're crazy, you're on your own. And so it was a unique story in the sense of my parents were like, you could probably find something else to do. And
Yeah, and if I may, this is actually very interesting. Very very interesting because your parents had a different experience as it pertains to the cost of an education, and because of that, that almost kind of interfered with your ultimate goal of becoming a physician. Because when you think about the cost, that alone will put you off. I quite remember when I wanted to become a physician, and this for me was a lot later in my towards the end of my high school year, and I was working as a CNA, and I would tell my colleagues, "Hey, I want to go to med school. I want to become a physician." And the first question I would get is, "How are you going to fund it? How are you going to pay for it?" Which is really the bottleneck for a lot of people. And for our viewers, if you were in high school, even in college, and you are still contemplating, how am I going to be able to um, fund my education? How am I going to be able to become the physician? Because, give or take, the numbers range anywhere between 200, 300, in some cases $400,000 to fully go through that process. So it can be a pretty penny there. So, but the most important thing is, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as the video goes along. I want our viewers to think of this in a very different way. Let me ask you, Dr. Grindle, in the United States, what is the biggest investment anybody will ever make? What would you say?
well, I can tell you the biggest investment that I ever made was my education. Right.
100%.
A
And
house.
exactly. Exactly. And that's where I want to draw viewers' attention to. I think the biggest investment that we can make is our education. That's a lifelong um, investment. But majority of people, their biggest investment is going to be a house, right? Majority of people, their biggest investment is buying a house. That's what it's been kind of, we've all been brainwashed. That's the best thing you can do. But they would never think about investing in education that way. And we'll talk about some of the benefit of that. So tell me, so this was in high school. You started thinking about how you were going to pay for medical school, or how you're going to fund your future.
Right.
So what was going through your mind? What were you thinking?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to have a scholarship office at my high school. And so as soon as my parents basically said, "You're never going to do this," I basically said, "Watch me." So went to filled out every application that I could possibly fill out. I mean, these women at this office thought I was insane, but I did. And I spent hours there after school, in recess. Like it was, that's where I was. And it was a little bit like too late, too sorry, I think. Like
Mhm.
it was it was far along in your and so I felt like a lot of people were like kind of laughing at me, like, "Oh, you're gonna figure this out like now." Um,
Mhm.
but it was the time. And then
Okay.
fortunately, what happened is I actually got awarded a scholarship from the Leon L. Grindle Foundation, uh,
Okay.
real estate company at the time, and I
Okay.
graduated in 2005. Uh,
Okay.
so we all kind of know what the real estate market was in 2000, um,
Yes.
2008. And it was a scholarship that actually he and his foundation would have paid for my education as long as I wanted to go through education.
Of course.
So that was my, see, parents, I told you I could pay for it. Watch me. This scholarship that will pay for my education as long as I want to go. So this is how I'm going to fund it. And
And that was how you were going to fund your undergrad.
no, it was through all of my education. As long as I wanted to go, he was going to pay for it.
Oh,
Um,
nice. That's a very excellent program. A scholarship.
One in a million. I don't understand what happened, but that was my like, see, I told you, I'll do
Okay.
this. I'll
Uh-huh.
watch me. And then we all know what happened in 2008, right?
Yes.
Yes. So 2008,
The
the
housing bubble.
housing bubble burst. Everybody
Exactly.
lost all of their money, including Leon Algranoff. And
Oh.
so 2009 was my first bill that I got from I again had thought that I had figured it all out, right? I had this scholarship from undergrad all the way through medical school, and so I took my time. I planned so that I had a major and two minors. I was on athletic teams. I
Mhm.
traveled. I did so many things in undergrad because I knew that this scholarship was going to pay as long as I wanted to go.
Of
So here,
course.
almost done with all of that. I got my first bill for tuition, and I remember that day. What is this? Like, I understand this. And it was for me a lot of money. It was like $3,000 or $3,600 at the time.
Was this what was this towards the end of your college years?
Correct. It
So you
was
got your first tuition bill of $3,000, an undergrad. You don't have a job, and
I
you're
did
looking at this
have
bill. What was that?
I did have a job, thank God. But yes, exactly
Okay,
that was through my
but
mind.
still, it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. Yeah. And so then I was feeling like I was back to square one. And who wants to go back to their parents and be like, oops, I didn't really do this very well, and now I have to figure out how to pay for this. So this transition actually made me take a year off from school. It
Was it a plan to go basically acquire more money by working and coming back and paying off your student, I mean your tuition?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So okay, I did this once. I do this again, and this time I didn't have really much access to scholarships, and so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna get a job and I'm gonna work, and
Hmm.
then I'll decide have enough money where I feel like I can go back to school. And then I think reality set in, like
Mm-hmm.
will actually cost and how much money I would make really not using my college degree. I was doing something completely different.
And actually, that's a very good point. A lot of people think they can. Well, we have people from very rich homes, and but majority of people that are not from rich homes and wanting to become something bigger than themselves. Sometimes we think that we can fund it, but the reality is, if you could fund it, you probably may not even be doing it.
Reality was again very quick to the fact that I could not make the amount of money that I
Yes.
needed in order to be ready to go to school. And so it took me about 15 months or so to figure that out. Uh, and by the time I started medical school, I had, I think, like $30,000 to my name from working for 15 months. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to be one of those kids that figures it out. And so
Mm-hmm.
loans for me were something that I needed only 2 semesters into medical school. That's
Mm-hmm.
if it was. So I worked for 15 months and I paid for 2 months of medical school. And then you realize what a problem. Yeah.
So your so to speak $30,000 you worked for 15 months for only got you for 2 months of medical school expenses. Amazing. Viewers, that tells you how much medical school can be, um, and medical school is 4 years.
Yeah, it is for you.
So what did you do after? What you realized? Okay, that this $30,000 is not going to take me too far. I can't work to pay for it. What did you do next?
So student loans was
Okay.
not right. And so I was really defeated at that
Hmm.
point. Okay, fine. I'm going to take the student loans. Like, this is not what I planned, but okay, fine. I'm going to take these student loans. And I think at that point, it was now third semester of
Hmm.
medical school. So, like,
Hmm.
almost through the first year. I was not married at the time, seriously dating my husband, but we weren't talking about finances. And I
Hmm.
think the culture around that everybody has student loans. Like,
Yeah.
that's normal. That's this.
Hmm.
Figure out how to do it without student loans, then you're a weirdo. And so
Yeah, of course.
firmly switched like
Hmm.
my mindset.
Hmm.
And I just became normal, which was someone who basically lived off of student loans. And I think for me it was hit or miss in terms of how those emotions were through my school. I feel like there was some times where I just wanted to take what I needed and be very minimal, and then
Hmm.
other times where I'm like, no, like I'm tired of this, and so if they're gonna hand it to me, then okay, I'm gonna take
Okay.
it.
Okay.
I think there was, for me looking back, too much education or help with how much money do you really need, right?
Hmm.
What this money pay for? What should it pay for? Um, I mean, I was just basically signing papers, and at the bottom were these numbers. I was
Hmm.
okay. Well, this is normal, right? So I'll sign my papers. And by the time I got through medical school, I through medical school means that I graduated and I was ready to go to residency, which
Hmm.
didn't really pay enough to be able to pay back those loans yet.
No.
But by the time I got through, I was like about 215,000 in debt to school.
So for our viewers, as Dr. Grindle has shared with us, her total cost is roughly about $215,000, and that is minus your $30,000 you had already put in. So roughly close to $250,000 as the cost for your medical degree, and this number it seems humongous for a lot of our listeners, and for a lot of the people that want to pursue a degree or their career in medicine. But I want to share this here too. I remember while I was going through undergrad, I was working night shifts, going to school during the morning, the entire time while I was pursuing my degree as a biochem with a biochemistry major. And I applied for a scholarship, and my GPA was give or take 3.0, 3.2. And I went. They invited me in, right? They invited me in. I went in and they told me, "Well, you have a very impressive resume. You know, you're volunteering here. You're doing this. You're doing all that stuff. That's very, very good. But you know what? We cannot give you the scholarship." And I was like, "Why?" It's like, "Well, you you are very impressive, but you know our benchmark is around I think 2.3, and that's why we can't give it to you." But you know, I remember that so vividly. The guy told me, "You know what? Let me tell you something. Do you know why the rich always get rich and the poor always get poor?" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "It's exactly what you're doing. You have to understand that the level is not the same. It's not the same playing field. At some point, you have to prioritize." And he was telling me that at that point in undergrad, what I needed to do was take whatever that loan I could get and focus on getting good grades and subsequently getting scholarship. So I was kind of mad at that, but I went home and I reflected on it. And next semester I got a loan. And I would tell you that was my third and fourth year of college, and all my grades were A's.
Yeah,
So it made a difference.
100%. Yeah,
So sometimes, you know, for our viewers, you know, we kind of have to reevaluate. Like I said earlier, if we could do it with the resources we had at that level, our perception and our approach may be a little different. Luckily and thankfully, depending on how you see it, our systems here affords us the ability to be able to get funding to train ourselves and to in turn pay back, which I think is the best investment that we can ever make into ourselves. A lot of different countries outside of the United States, they don't have that availability, that resource to be able to educate yourself for anybody, regardless of what home you came from, regardless of what background you came from, for anybody to be able to get funding to enhance themselves and pay back. And most importantly, give back to the community. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing. I want all our viewers to consider those. Once again, exhaust all your options for scholarships, whatever free money you can possibly get it. And last case scenario, if it comes down to it and you need to get a loan, consider it as an investment. Make a good choice with it. You don't spend your student loan money buying houses, right? Or you don't spend your student loan buying new cars and stuff like that. So consider all those things and make a good decision. So, Dr. Grindle, you were able to, go through medical school with almost $250,000 debt. You paid some off. You had about $215,000. You went into residency, and we do get paid in residency in a very, I'll put it, stipend way of our total potential earnings. But that was not going to cut it for you. So what did you do? Because you really did a very good job at getting rid of that debt within a short period of time. What did you start doing?
yeah. So really through residency, I kind of had my head in the sand a little bit, and I think this is where I would have done things very differently. So through residency, you're right. You feel like you've arrived and you have a job, and the student loans are just the expectation. And so for 3 years, we kind of just hit our. I say we because I got married in the middle, but we just kind of hit our heads in the sand and didn't think about it. In my residency, which was 3 years, that 215,000 grew to almost 300,000. And so for me, that is a huge learning step when you're thinking about financing school, because there, that alone, that interest alone is an insurmountable number for most people.
All right, so we're going to end here for today. Stay tuned for part 2 of my interview with Dr. Grindle, where she shares with us some of the practical ways she was able to pay $340,000 of student loan debts in just 22 months. If you did enjoy this video, please share with your friends and families, and don't forget to smash the like button. And watch out for part 2 of this interview next Saturday. Dr. Jima, I'm out.